Oh, look, y'all, I think a lot of welders out there think that cylinder safety and regulators and stuff like that is kind of all the things that we're going to talk about on this video today about gas cylinders, storing them, how to properly handle them, as well as all the different types of regulators and how to properly use them. I think every welder should have a good understanding of this. You should know this stuff, guys. Let's get into it. When it comes to gas cylinders, they come in all shapes and sizes, but we're going to focus mainly on the welding types that we're going to use day to day. You can check out this gas bottle chart here for most of your welding gas bottles. You're going to have your 20 CF, your 40, your 80, your 125s, your 200s, 300s. These are all going to be really common sizes of gas bottles. Obviously, a smaller gas bottle is not going to last you near as long as a bigger gas bottle. To put it in perspective, I weld a few times a week and I have one of these bigger 300 style size bottles, and they last me quite some time, maybe even a few months depending on how much I'm welding. But that same bottle that I used to have, using it in a production fab shop where I welded all day every day, I might be burning through one of those bottles in a day or two. And if you don't weld every single day, you're more of the few times a week or a few times a month type of person, a bottle like this 125 I think is perfect. It's portable, it's got enough gas in it that'll last you a while, and you won't feel like you're just running out of it in just a day like something like this little bottle here. All of these gas bottles are more commonly found for your inert gases like your argon, your helium, your nitrogen, even gas mixtures too. Whenever you go about mixing these different gases, these are the cylinders you'll find. Even hydrogen and oxygen can be mixed into these. So we have a bunch of different gases that go into our welding cylinders. Now when it comes to your fuel gases, they're going to be in a couple different variations of sizes compared to the gas bottles we use for welding. Here's a different chart for your fuel gases like acetylene and propylene. There really isn't a whole lot to a cylinder other than it's just a big old tank with a valve on it. But we can't always think that this valve is going to be the same. Now, I don't want to get super in the weeds on the types of valves that go on the top of these bottles because I did a little bit of research and it was more than I wanted to know. The biggest thing you need to know is the valve is going to be different depending on the gas that's inside. Depending on the type of bottle that it is, like this oxygen bottle, those welding bottles that we used, or even this nitrogen bottle, they're all going to have right-handed threads when you go to put a regulator on it. It's righty-tighty. You give it a good snug up with a wrench and you're good to go. Whereas all these fuel bottles down here, they're going to have these little notches on each one of the nuts on there, and that's how you're going to know that that's a left-handed thread type of fitting. So instead of righty-tighty, you've got righty-loosey and lefty-tighty. You know what I mean? Something like that. This is just a big deal to make things kind of idiot-proof, so you can't put one on the other. But if you really want to get to know your gas cylinder on a personal level, you start rubbing your hands around the top here. You're going to feel some stamp markings and some raised markings on here that's going to tell you more specifics about the bottle in front of you. You'll see a DOT number. You'll see probably something like a serial number on here too. You might see on the collar here where that bottle was manufactured, which is kind of important because depending on the size and type of bottle, some places will only take their own bottles. The other things you're going to see are the original test dates on here when it first was manufactured, as well as additional stamps on here for later on test dates. We've got a couple little asterisks here that show that, but if you really want to get to know your cylinder, you'll look at that, and if you want to know what's inside it, you're going to look at this label here where it's going to tell the gas that's inside it, it's the percentages, the mixtures, all this to know everything about a gas cylinder inside and out. Now, I think it's kind of obvious when I say we want to do our due diligence when it comes to proper handling and storage of these gas bottles. We want them pretty much always stored upright and nice and secure, whether you're going to put a strap on it, put a chain on it, or if you've got a grouping of bottles, you can nest them, which means basically just get them really tightly packed together and they pretty much keep themselves stood up on their own. I've already taken the liberty and put in a 3-part safety handbook in the description below for you guys to check out. But I think one of the biggest safety requirements is your fuel versus your oxygens and your inert gases. The biggest things being those fuel versus the oxygens. You really want to keep everything separate, at least 20 feet apart, and if they're a little bit closer, then have at least a 5-foot fireproof wall in between them. We want to keep these things completely separate because they just don't mix, you know what I'm saying? Like a bottle like this compressed gas right here, you're probably not going to hurt anything by laying it on its side. Matter of fact, I use my argon bottles often on a trailer or in the bed of my truck laying on their side. Probably not going to hurt anything. But a fuel gas like acetylene needs to be stored upright. If that bottle is tilted or laying on its side, that acetone starts to separate, making that acetylene a lot more unstable, and you can damage the regulators, yourself. If it does happen to happen, make sure that you tip it upright and give it some time before you start to use it again. At least an hour. And if it's been laying on its side for a while, I'd go as far as keeping it untouched for at least 24 hours before using it. You guys might have seen someone doing something like this before. Now, while it's pretty cool and I'm actually pretty impressed, this is not the right way to do it. You're gonna wanna move bottles with a dolly. Load them up in the dolly where they can be loaded upright, and we have a way of securing the chains. We want to make sure that we're able to move these bottles around while they're nice and secure. Now, I was told that you can do one bottle like that, but as long as it's like under 10 feet. Once we get past that, you need to be properly moving these cylinders with the proper moving equipment. And make sure you're always moving them with the gas cap on. Two of the biggest things that I've seen that makes me throw the red card up is when I see a gas bottle leaned up against a welding table. This is absolutely a terrible idea. This thing is made out of metal, people. If you know anything about welding, whenever it's grounded to the table that you're working on or welding next to, you can arc on this bottle. A little crack is formed when it happens, and that crack can grow. There's a ton of pressure in these bottles, and when they see an arc mark, that bottle immediately gets flagged and it is no good. Not only that, but lifting it by the cap like that, also not a great idea, especially with those bigger bottles. I've seen people run strap and rigging through them and pick them up by the bottle. That is a terrible idea. Huge failures. Now, your welding regulator is going to be your way of getting the gas out of that bottle cylinder, and they're really dang easy to install. All you got to do is unscrew the bottle cap, go ahead and crack that valve open and let a lot of air come out of there real quickly to blow out any debris. And all you got to do is screw in your regulator. And remember, it's right-handed thread for all your welding gases and oxygens or hydrogens, but if it's a fuel gas like propane, propylene, or acetylene, they're going to be left-handed threads. Same thing with all the fittings that go to them in the hoses in the machine. The left-handed thread fittings have a little notch in them. That little notch is telling you that that's a left-handed thread fitting. A much less quick way of finding out that it's a left-handed thread fitting is trying to tighten it right-handed and you're just talking or maybe not paying attention and you're just going to be sitting there screwing it right all dang day and it's going to do nothing. I only know because I've done it before. There are a few shapes and sizes to regulators that you're going to see on a day-to-day. For example, you might see this single-stage low-flow regulator. The single stage takes the bottle gas cylinder pressure and takes it down to a working pressure for us in basically one step. Low-flow regulators are going to be more common for your lower flow rate applications, more like your welding stuff when it comes to TIG, MIG, flux core, anything that's operating in a CFH somewhere around 10 to 60. Another example might be a two-stage high-flow regulator. The two-stage regulator will take that bottle working pressure that's really super-duper high, and it'll break it down to a working pressure for us in 2 steps. These high-flow regulators can operate at several hundred CFH. These regulators are going to be a little bit more common for like your oxygen bottles or your nitrogen bottles, whether you're oxy-fuel cutting or maybe you're purging with a bunch of nitrogen. There could be a number of reasons why you need a ton of gas and you're going to need a high-flow regulator. Now, we've really only covered 2 styles of these regulators, but there are plenty more out there, like a dual flow regulator where you got 2 flow meters and run 2 welding machines or purge off of 1 regulator and 1 bottle, or these really cool Arcal bottles that have everything built into the top, making it super easy to adjust, turn on, turn off, move from one bottle to the other with a quick connect. Super nice. But the best way that I can explain how a regulator works, we got to hook one up and start playing with one. Now, the basic parts that you're going to need to know about any welding regulator or any regulator at all is the inlet pressure coming in from the bottle into the regulator, the outlet pressure, which is where the regulator takes to a working pressure and runs out the other end, as well as the adjustment knob. And it's really simple. You'll see on one side how much gas is in the bottle that you have the regulator hooked up to, and then you'll have on the other side or on a flow meter the amount of flow rate that you can adjust with your knob. Just make sure we go ahead and do a leak test, especially if it's the first time we're using any of the equipment. Take some soapy water or some leak tester and just start spraying it on there, and you'll be hunting down these bubbles. If you can listen close enough, you might even hear it, but tracking down a leak is a lot easier with a little bit of soapy water, so you can spray anywhere that gas line is flowing and you can see some bubbles. If you see bubbles, you know you've got a leak, you know you've got a problem. Now we got to adjust, maybe tighten something or figure out what's wrong and why we have a leak. Once you're certain that you've got no leaks, you've got everything hooked up properly, now we need to get the proper working pressure for the application we're doing with our MIG or TIG or whatever it may be. There's going to be a certain flow rate that we need. And simply going over to the regulator and turning it to the number isn't always the best bet. What I like to do so I know that I'm getting an accurate reading on my working pressure is pull the trigger or open a valve or flip a button on the machine in order to get flow rate going from the gas bottle through the machine and out the torch. This is going to get you the most accurate flow rate as you're adjusting it on your regulators, making sure there's flow happening. In most cases, you're good to go. You're ready to start welding. But I always like to double or triple check things, especially if it's something that I've never used before, with a cheap little $12 flow meter. These little flow meters are great. All you do is seat it on the MIG gun or the TIG torch right at the top. Make sure it's facing upright and go ahead and let the gas flow. What you're going to want to see is the flow rate that's on your little flow meter matches the flow rate that you had on your regulator. If you do see identical numbers on your flow meter tester and your regulator, you're in business, buddy. Now you can be 100% confident that you are ready to weld and cut with the proper operating pressures. If you're around these cylinders and you're working around them, you should absolutely know everything that you've seen in this video, and it should be ingrained in your soul. Now go weld something.